It might sound too good to be true, but in 2 months I made $100,000 in house equity, and in this video I will break down exactly how I did it and what did it take me to get there. Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we'll break down exactly how on most recent purchase of a duplex I made $100,000 in equity in 2 months. To understand how we made $100,000 in equity in 2 months, first we have to start with how we found the property and what kind of property did we end up buying, because I'll give you a little secret. You make most of your house equity when you purchase the property. I'll go into more details shortly. Okay, so as you guys know, I'm a real estate wholesaler. So we decided to leverage the system that I have in place to find off-market properties that we're going to purchase ourselves. And what ended up happening, our own team found 2 properties last year that we ended up buying. First property was purchased by my family and I, and the second property was purchased by my girlfriend and I. When we found the property, the owner wanted $450,000. And this is the first thing you have to do. You have to get a price out of the seller. When you get the price out of the seller, now at this time, you can determine if the property is worth what they're asking for. One quick thing before we keep going, please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below if you have any questions during this video. I'll be more than happy to answer to all of them. So for you to calculate if the asking price of the seller in a multifamily property is worth it, you have to do a couple of different things. I won't go too much into details how you break down multifamily homes because that's on the video on its own. Right now, we're going to break down a couple of quick things so you know what I'm talking about. If you do want me to go into details about multifamily homes, please leave a comment down below. I'll be more than happy to break it down to you guys how I calculate value of multifamily homes. So first of all, we need to look at rents. One side of the property was a 2-1 and the other side of the property was a 2-1 with a den, which is very easily to be turned into a bedroom. So potentially we're looking at a 3-1. Average rents in this area for a 2-1 are about $2,200 to $2,300. Average rents for a 3-1 is about $2,500 to $2,600. So altogether, we expected the property to bring a month anywhere between $4,700 to $4,900 a month. Now we're going to apply something called the 1% rule. It's a very general rule, and honestly, it depends on an area from an area, but if we want to just summarize it so you have an idea how it works, the 1% rule means that your gross monthly income from your property shouldn't be more than 1% of the purchase price of the property. So in this particular situation, if we thought that the property can bring $4,700 to $4,900 a month, we wouldn't want to be paying more than $470,000 to $490,000 for the property, because 1% of $470,000 is $4,700. Easy math. Obviously, this is a very simplified version, but this is a very good starting point. After doing that quick calculations, we need to estimate the repairs, which in our situation, we're expecting it to be around $20,000. So our initial purchase price that we were agreeing on, $450,000, would have been absolutely perfect. However, during the negotiation process, the seller ended up asking for $465,000 because they had a relative that wanted more money for them because they were in real estate. Whatever, that happens unfortunately, but $465,000 still was within accepted range that we would accept for this property. One thing I do want to mention, the 1% rule is kind of a thing that investors use. Regular everyday people that are buying property just for themselves, not as an investment, don't really think about it that way. And based on everything that I've seen and all the comparables that I've read on different multifamily properties, people are willing to pay about 10 or 20% more than what 1% rule would get you at. In our situation, the property when we purchased it was actually appraised for $520,000. So that was about 10% more than what we bought it for. And here's why my initial saying that I said in the beginning of the video that you make money when you purchase the property comes into place, because we bought the property for $465,000, and if it was appraised for $520,000, right there and then we made $55,000 in equity in the property. The next 2 best things you can do after purchasing the property is to renovate it and bring it very up to date and make it very modern. And second of all, you can rent it for the highest possible rent in the area. Give you one secret, the one unit that was being rented before we moved in here was $1,000, which now it's being rented for $2,200. So after purchasing the property, first thing we needed to do is to renovate it. One unit needed a lot more work than the other. One unit was smoked in, not taken care of at all. We found roaches and all kinds of stuff. It wasn't great at all. And that unit was occupied by the tenant while the other unit was occupied by the owner at the time. So because that unit was smoked, then the first thing we needed to do is to fully clean it. And if you ever purchased property that was actually smoked in, and this one was smoked in for 20 years. So the amount of yellow stuff that was coming from the walls where we're cleaning it was absolutely disgusting. And so we decided, instead of hiring a cleaning company, because the quote that we got from someone to clean the property was, if I'm not mistaken, about $6,000 or $7,000. It was absolutely crazy. So what we ended up doing, we purchased about $100 worth of supplies from Amazon, including cleaning supplies, automatic brushes, gloves, equipment, whatever. We bought full new clothes because we did not want to wear any clothes that we're gonna wear on an everyday basis during the cleaning. And so we cleaned the entire unit. My girlfriend and I, we were scrubbing the place, floors, ceilings, walls, everything. The only thing that we were not able to clean were the ductwork, and that's because it's a little more complicated. The way they do it is that they put vacuum cleaners in there. They kind of seal one side, then suck it in from the other side. It's actually a pretty cool process, and honestly, we ended up paying for that, and that was only $400. We not only ended up doing for the tenant side, but the side we live in as well, because even though our side was not smoked in, you have a lot of dust that gets collected there over the years. And a lot of people don't decide to clean it. So we decided to clean it to just breathe fresher air. We ended up spending about $1,000 when it comes to cleaning. After cleaning, the next best thing that we could do was to paint the entire place. If you ever purchase a property that was smoked in, clean it, paint it. But what I mean by painting, you have to put a very expensive primer on the walls and then put 2 coats of paint over it, and then it will most likely be okay. So we ended up doing painting ourselves. So it was my girlfriend, her family, and I, which took us about 3 to 4 days to paint it. So all the money that we spent for painting supplies were about $500 to $600. The next thing we did was floor installation, which is about $5 per square foot. That's counting the installation and the vinyl itself. We ended up going with luxury vinyl, which is on the cheaper end, but it's also really nice, looks really nice, and feels nice as well. So half the property was floored by us, and half the property I had to hire someone else to floor. So half the property ended up costing us $2.70 per square foot, and half the property ended up costing us $5 per square foot. So after all, we ended up spending about $3,000 on flooring just for that unit. Next thing we had to do, we had to buy a washer and dryer because the previous tenant took the washer and dryer, and we had to buy a new stove as well. So we ended up going to Facebook Marketplace and spent $700 on very nice stainless steel used appliances. The next thing we had to do, unfortunately, there was an electric issue with the AC, which cost us $750 to fix. On top of that, we had to replace a couple of little things like hardware, pantry doors, because pantry doors, even though you could have painted them, but that property was so bad when it comes to smoke odor, that we just decided to rip everything off and put new ones. So that actually cost us about $1,000 for small little things. So the next thing we had to do is paint outside of the house, because presentation is everything. And when the tenants come to look at your place, if your landscaping is horrible, if your painting of your house is horrible, if the outside of your house looks horrible, they're not gonna want to live that. They're not gonna want to make that their home. So we painted the outside of the house, which cost us about $2,500 with labor and material. So after we're done with that unit and we're done with the outside, we had to do our unit. And here we were on the time crunch because we only had 2 weeks until Christmas, and our parents were coming in to visit us for Christmas, so we had to prepare everything very quickly. So we ended up spending about $2,500 for painting and about $6,000 for flooring. So after putting about $20,000 to $21,000 into the property, we can easily say that we can rent this property for the highest rents possible. So right now we can rent both sides for potential of $4,900. If this property appraised for $520,000 before the rents were what they are now, before we put so much renovations into it, right now the property is easily worth $560,000 or more. Especially I look at other multifamily homes that are selling in the area, and I can tell you that I believe it's actually worth more than that, but I'm being a little bit conservative on my price. So like that, we have about $100,000 worth of equity in the house. Couple things running back into what we talked about. It's very important what price you buy the property, because that's where you're gonna make the most equity. It's very important to renovate it, and it's very important to rent it for the highest price you're able to. Obviously, $22,000 of this equity was because we put money into the property. So that's where the equity came from. But the rest of about $80,000 or more actually came from us doing other things like buying right or renting it for the highest price. If you guys want to know a little more about how my estimate of $560K, or in general, if you want want to make me a very comprehensive video about multifamily homes, I'm more than happy to do that. I've learned a lot from wholesaling a lot of multifamily homes to buying a couple of myself. I've learned a lot, and I believe that I have a lot of knowledge to share with you guys as well. So please leave a like if you haven't yet. Subscribe to the channel to never miss this kind of videos. And as always, guys, peace.